of the disease, the APOE gene that basically devours your brain proteins. But that made me wonder, what triggers the gene in the first place? Why are there people with perfect memory well into their 90s, while others experience forgetfulness in their 40s? What scientists hadn't figured out was why this happens only to some people, and why some people with no family history of this disease can still get it. I mean, my wife's parents were still completely independent and lucid despite being in their late 70s. So by that train of thought, she shouldn't have gotten such an aggressive reaction in the first place. But there it was, in plain sight. A cutting-edge new study published by the researchers at Harvard University that proved all memory impairment diseases are linked to an infection in your gums caused by a bacteria called P. gingivalis. The bacteria produces toxins called gingipains that are found to accumulate in the brain of these patients. The gingipains inflame the brain tissue, which in turn creates plaque, which obstructs the communication paths between our brain cells. That completely explained my wife's case, because she often had horrible toothaches. But was it true for every single case? That's when I went back to Alois Alzheimer's patients' files and sifted through them to see if any observations were made about her teeth. And there it was. Auguste Dieter had acute plaque and 5 missing teeth. I felt confident that my presumptions were correct, but I had to go deeper. That's when, after 2 more weeks of digging, I stumbled upon a very interesting study led by scientists at NYU College of Dentistry and NYU Langone Medical Center of cognitively normal, healthy, community-residing elderly men and women, average age 61. In this study, the investigators showed for the first time in humans a link between periodontal disease and the accumulation of plaques in the brain. The scientists said periodontal disease was associated with plaque buildup in the same areas of the brain similar to those of patients with memory impairment. Our results suggest that periodontal infection may increase the risk for brain amyloid deposition. I started consulting other top doctors I met regarding these studies. We all agreed that the gene is just a byproduct, a marker that confirms the likelihood of having memory issues, but it doesn't trigger them. It may sound strange when you first hear about it. A bacteria on the teeth causing memory loss? Actually, it makes a lot of sense. Why? Because each one of your teeth is connected to your brain through tiny nerves. The infection can travel from the tooth to the nose, to the eyes, and ultimately to the brain, causing it to swell up and produce more sticky plaque. This makes your thinking processes slower and makes it harder for your brain cells to retrieve memories. And the worst part is, no matter what your dentist tells you, not even the deepest cleaning treatments can reach and destroy these bacteria that are tirelessly lurking inside your mouth, even when your teeth seem fine. I'll tell you why in a minute. However, do you want to know a sure way that the bacteria is already in your system? Do this 3-second test first thing tomorrow morning when you wake up. Raise your hand to your nose and take a sniff. If you have bad breath, then the bacteria is clearly there, lurking, waiting, and ready to damage your brain cells. If you often get a metallic taste in your mouth as soon as you wake up, then you should take action immediately, because that means the bacteria is already affecting the nerves and making its way to your brain. But now, you may think, oh, but Carl, I go to the dentist for deep cleaning every 6 months. Here's the kicker. According to a study conducted by the University of Michigan, there are 20 billion bacteria in your mouth. These bacteria reproduce every 5 hours. If you go 24 hours without cleaning your teeth, and I'm going to show you the most efficient way to clean your teeth inside this presentation, those 20 billion become 100 billion. No dental or medical method can destroy the gum-eating bacteria. I know that hurts to hear, especially when you shill out hundreds of dollars for dental cleanings every few months. This is not something you're going to hear from your dentist because they have no interest in you knowing this. Normally, doctors recommend brushing your teeth at least twice a day, flossing or going through dental scaling procedures to get rid of the bacteria and tartar. And here's where it all goes wrong. No matter how well you clean your teeth, at least 10% of the bacteria will remain hidden inside the gum pockets. And there's a ticking time bomb waiting to happen. If this bacteria was so powerful and dangerous, was there anything that could banish it? In the end, this could happen to anybody, our spouses, our parents, and grandparents. I couldn't risk seeing the love of my life become an empty shell who would forget when and if she needs to go to the toilet, and eventually forget basic functions like chewing her food. I could not afford to let anyone take this away from me. So after working alone as a wolf, I realized I needed someone who would understand and be there at least to help me figure out how to go from here on out. So I decided to make some phone calls. In the end, I kept hearing one name, Dr. Jack Lane. You see, Dr. Jack was well known in his field because he set up the basis of good oral hygiene in half of the third world countries with his NGO. And what drew me to him was the fact that he accomplished that without expensive equipment, without expensive medicine. Dr. Jack did it all through God's green bounty. Plants. I explained my situation to him, and he agreed to work with me on this. You see, Dr. Jack's grandmother died from a horrible memory loss disease, which caused her in her final days to even forget how to pee and how to swallow her food. Slowly, through a 3-day period, she died a shameful death that marked him. Enough to know that when we met, it was probably fate giving him a chance to avenge his grandmother's dreadful death. But there's one thing we've missed so far. What do we do about the root cause? Of course, even if you take the brain nutrients, the problem's still there. Your mouth is still harboring the dangerous criminal burrowed deep in your gums and nerves. So I needed something that I could disinfect the teeth and slow down the multiplication rate of the bacteria. So for phase 1, I knew that the first step was to eradicate the bacteria. That's when Dr. Jack suggested Huperzine. You see, according to one 2005 study, Huperzine provides an antibacterial action on the surface of your brain. In this clinical study, Huperzine destroyed microbes and bacteria much like your hand sanitizer coats and protects your hands. So, not only is Huperzine important for killing the dangerous dental bacteria that travel to your brain, but it's also important for coating the brain in a bacteria-proof vest. Not only that, but several clinical studies have revealed this herb can stabilize your cognitive function at any age due to better communication between neurotransmitters. Studies have also shown the nourishment from this herb can reduce inflation in a matter of minutes. Now remember, micro-inflammatory responses are probably already present in your gums. Also, if you are already starting to experience forgetfulness, even as simple as forgetting where you left your keys, your brain is already inflamed and secreting the plaque that will lead to worse symptoms in just a matter of months. Moreover, in one study, Huperzine also increased dopamine levels by 129%. In the brain, dopamine functions as a neurotransmitter, a chemical released by your nerve cells to send signals to other nerve cells. In another study, a group of patients struggling with memory decline took a dose of Huperzine twice a day over an 8-week period. The results showed that 58% of all subjects had less memory, fatigue, healthy cognitive performance, and improved mood. Step 2, repair the wounded brain cells. Well, remember back to your mid-20s when your mind was as sharp as a tack? Back when you could stay up all night, partying and having a good time, then make it work on time and do your job without getting fired, even though you were dead tired? Why can't you do that nowadays anymore? Well, because as we age, our brain blood flow gets weaker. And as more and more plaque builds up, so does the mental fog. Vinpocetine opens up your brain's blood vessels, pumping your head full of oxygen and sparking nerve cells back to life. This new blood flow also flushes out cerebral toxins and helps your neurons fire faster, so starting faster your memory recall processes. In one study, participants at the University of Leeds in England used vinpocetine and experienced less memory fatigue and improved reaction times in a matter of days. Step 3. Bulletproof the entire brain and gums against the bacteria. And that's when I stumbled upon an interesting study published in 2014 in China on the effects of ginkgo biloba on gum disease. 60 patients with moderate to severe periodontitis were selected and split up in a control group and a group who received ginkgo. They were periodically swabbed for a bacterial test, and the results were absolutely insane. Ginkgo significantly decreased the detection rate of periodontal disease pathogens in just 1 week after treatment. By now, it should be glaringly obvious that if you want to preserve and recondition your remaining neurons and brain cells, it makes sense to protect them with the crucial nutrients it needs that you can't get through a normal diet. My question to you is this: do you want a sharp, responsive mind or a dull, sluggish brain that eventually gives up completely? I think you already know the answer, and you're beginning to see how these 3 ingredients can start to make a difference in your life. You see, in the past few minutes, I've demonstrated to you how one hidden bacteria can completely destroy the precious memories you hold so dear. How one tiny intruder can rob you of your independence and dignity. And why no matter how well you brush and floss, no matter how good your dentist is, you will never get to it, and it will continue to mock you as it makes its way up to your brain. And I presented 3 all-natural ingredients that can increase cerebral brain flow, reduce age-related cognitive decline, and boost energy in your brain. Problem is, it's nearly impossible